Hey guys, I am sitting on my mother-in-law's front porch, and today I graded all of your writing samples from your historical context journal. And I have to tell you, we are so proud of the work that you did. Um, Many of you showed us some real promise and real skills. And a lot of the errors that we saw are things that are really easy to fix. And so that's what we're going to focus on in this workshop. I want to talk to you about the small things that you can change in your writing that will have a huge impact on your content and making sure that your perspective is really clear. So the first thing that I noticed was that going too far. Your claim sentences were not always an opinion based sentence. Your first sentence of your paragraph needs to do two things. It needs to outline what question you're answering, and it needs to give me your opinion on that topic. If it's not an opinion, then there's really no point in proving it with evidence. The second thing that I noticed is that you like to use pronouns without providing an antecedent. It's like, why would you say they're going to the grocery store if I don't know who they is? And then the other thing is using personal pronouns in your writing. So I think, I believe, those things are true no matter what. Anytime it's your writing, it's what you think or what you believe to be true. So you don't even have to use those phrases. I mean, talk about an easy fix. The next thing is the ratio between your own words and then the words of others that you're using as evidence. What Mr. Burdess and I generally recommend is no more than a third of your paragraph should be quotes from an outside source or paraphrases from an outside source. You want to depend heavily on your analysis, which means you have to be really selective in the quotes that you use and the paraphrasing that you do. Finally, with your quotes, you want to select the portion that does the job. I saw a lot of whole sentence quotes and a lot of like really, really long quotes. You don't have to do that. Just choose the part that you need and build your sentence around it. And then the last thing is use consistent capitalization and punctuation. If you don't have Grammarly downloaded, download Grammarly. I have it. I use it. I love it. I should probably get paid as a sponsor for it. So use Grammarly. The first thing I'm going to do today is I'm going to talk through a couple of examples of each of my 5 things that I noticed. So in your claim sentence, this is one of your peers who wrote this sentence. You want to do 3 things. Include the prompt, provide the actual reason, right? The because, and then make sure that's an opinion. If there are other potential answers, that counts as an opinion. So this person wrote, the growth of Christianity, prompt, was primarily is the key word there. There are other examples that he could have chosen and he didn't. Caused by the diaspora. I would have included something a little bit more specific, like the diaspora of the Jewish community and the oppression they received from Rome, right? That is a really excellent claim sentence because it does all of the things that it's supposed to do. Use because. The second thing was to make sure your pronouns have an antecedent and don't use personal pronouns in academic writing. If you use the word they, them, then it needs to be clear who they, them is. So, for example, they went to the store. Do you know who went to the store? No. It needs to be clear who I'm talking about going to the store. And if it's not clear, then don't use they, use the word that you should be using. The next step is to choose only the portion of the quote that best supports your claim and only use that. So I took a quote from the text. This is a full sentence quote, and I'm going to go through my process. So the quote is, Jesus' disciples continued to spread his teachings. By the end of the 1st century CE, Christians were practicing their faith throughout the empire. That's really long. And if I'm trying to keep to that 1/3 of my text that I'm writing being quotes, it's going to be hard for me to do that if I have these really huge long quotes. So I want to choose the portion that works for me. I'm going to type it in the top, right? So I've got it up here. Christians were practicing their faith throughout the empire. That's the only part I need. And then I'm going to build my sentence around it, right? I'm going to provide context for the quote that I'm using. So I wrote, because Christianity was being spread by both the disciples and because the persecution that Christians faced had them searching for a place to practice their faith, Christians were practicing their faith throughout the empire. It's kind of wordy. It's a little redundant. In my revision, I would probably fix some of that. But as far as taking a quote and building my sentence to work with that quote, that's what you want to accomplish. The fifth thing is just the rules for capitalization and punctuation. It's not a ton of rules, but these are the things that you can do to really make a difference in your writing. Capitalize the first word of every sentence of all the important places like Iraq or Iran or the United States, and then proper names like Casey Basic or your name. Use punctuation at the end of a sentence. That's really, really important because that gives your reader a break in the reading that they're doing. Don't overuse exclamation points. This is kind of a pet peeve of mine, just because when I read it in my brain, I read it with excitement. And so by the end of a paragraph where every other sentence ends with an exclamation point, I feel a little bit tired of my own excitement. So, limit your exclamation points. And then make sure that you read through your sentences to make sure that they are all complete thoughts, right? That's like an easy fix. You should never turn something in to any of your facilitators or to any of your college professors when you go to college or wherever you end up that you haven't at least read through one time before you submit. So these are the things that I want to see you guys practicing as you work on improving your writing, because that's what we're doing, right? We're growing together and learning together, and we're all trying to get better. And that's all that I can really encourage you to do, is just continue working to get better. And again, I'm so proud of your first effort, and I really think that you guys are going to do some amazing work this year.